I quickly came to the realization that there is no way I can do this review without including spoilers. Like, I can't even really show B-roll clips without including potential spoilers. So rather than forcing you to skip to the end, here's how the rating broke down. Based on the content, we gave this game a recommended age of 16 years old. The vast majority of the game's mature content is mild, but there are some serious spikes in sexuality if you pursue the romances, and some drinking and drug references. There is mature language, but it's not very frequent. Alright, with that out of the way, strap yourselves in. Spoiler alert, this one is going to be fun. Hey parents, Carmine here with your video review of Mass Effect Andromeda.
No kidding!
Your jump jet is malfunctioning.
Get it working!
Approaching terminal velocity.
I feel certain in saying that Andromeda is going to be the most polarizing game of the year. Lots of people like it, lots of people don't. But if you're a fan of Mass Effect and the other recent BioWare games, we both know that you're going to play it no matter what anyone else says. So rather than talking up the game's highlights or focusing on the game's problems, I'll just say that Andromeda has a very different feel than the games in the first trilogy. It somewhat closely parallels the first Mass Effect, but with plenty of mechanics from Dragon Age Inquisition. It took me over 55 hours to complete the game, so make sure you have plenty of time when you start your experience. Violence is the most frequent factor in this game, but with one or two rare exceptions, it's pretty tame. The player will have access to a wide variety of weapons and powers. If hits resulted in any blood, I never saw it, no matter what weapon I was using. I tried out a number of different weapons, and the only graphic thing I saw is that the player kills a humanoid enemy with a headshot. This was easiest to accomplish with the sniper rifles, but I saw it happen with other types of weapons as well. In this case, the enemy's head will disappear. Not explode, not get knocked off, not get destroyed, just disappear. I understood what was implied, but it still felt a bit bizarre. Powers aren't much more violent. Most of them will do some amount of damage, and many can throw an enemy onto the ground. The Incinerate power did light enemies on fire, but only if they didn't have any shields, and even then, most enemies didn't seem to react to the fire. They just ran around and the fire was on them, but they acted completely normal otherwise. The only noteworthy exception to the violence is one area where I discovered a blood-filled room that was being used by cannibals, but even in this case, there wasn't any gore. Now, BioWare has a signature style when it comes to sexuality, and Andromeda is no exception. For the most part, sexuality is absent from this game unless the player actively pursues romance options with other characters. There are no more Asari strippers in this game, sorry guys. That being said, the romance options are very easy to find, and there's nothing stopping the player from flirting with a bunch of different characters. BioWare has always been fairly diverse with its romance options, so expect more of the same here. Humans and aliens, males and female, some want commitment, others are more casual. Ultimately, it's entirely up to the player to decide how to approach love and sex in this game. Romance options are avoidable, but they're not hidden. Now, if the player does pursue a romance option, the magnitude of the content of that romance will vary wildly from character to character. Some romance options don't even have a kissing scene, just flirtation and the promise of something later, probably in a later game. Others have a short but full-blown sex scene. There's no point going into the details of each romance option, just be prepared for breasts, butt, and potentially sex.
You're someone to me.
Substances are the second most significant factor in this game. I wouldn't say that alcohol is common, but it's definitely a present factor in a number of different areas. There are plenty of bars and opportunities for the player to drink. In some cases, it's just a casual drink over a conversation or to test a new flavor of something. In at least one case, though, the main character can get full-on dancing on the table plastered without any significant consequences of any sort. There is also a place where a couple of stoners seem to be attempting to grow weed, but I never figured out how to give them the UV lamp they were lazily desperate to obtain.
Even as we look forward to the future.
There is a place where the player can bet on animal fights or something like that, but the rules were really unclear and I think I just ended up losing. But unless there was some specific hidden side mission tied up in it, I have a hard time understanding why the mechanic was even included. Language, on the other hand, is present infrequently in conversations. There's no way to filter it out, so when it does come up, I did notice it, but it wasn't grating or entirely inappropriate for the situation.
Life was doing stuff to survive, taking shit from assholes, or being one.
That's it. So once again, we gave this game a recommended age of 16 years old. Horizon Zero Dawn is up next, so look for that and more coming soon.